All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Captain David Mancia. I am the engagement officer over at MCI-West Camp Pendleton. That's Marine Corps Installations Camp Pendleton. Thank you for joining us today. As you know, today we have certain incidences. Yep, we have certain incidents that occurred on base, and in a few moments you're going to hear from our commanding officer, our commanding general, excuse me, Brigadier Dan B. Conley. Okay, so just to set a couple ground rules for you before we proceed. Please keep all questions within the scope of today's events. As you know, we have had a couple fires and a couple evacuations as to currently. So currently I'm tracking that we are going to have the CG walk out. He is going to give his statement. So this statement can be anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes long. So after the CG gives his statement, then we'll then open it up to question and answers. So for that, we have enough time for 6 total questions. So the way we're going to do this, I'm tracking that we have in our audience right now, we have Fox News, we have CNN, and then we have NBC. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to go left to right. Okay, so my left to my right. So we're going to start off with Fox News. You ask 2 questions, and then after your 2 questions, the CG will respond. And then after that, we'll transition over to Mr. Beard over with CNN. Again, you'll ask your 2 questions, and then he will respond. And then lastly, we'll transition over to NBC. You'll ask your 2 questions, he'll respond. And then if we have any time at the end, we'll go ahead and answer some follow-up questions. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if we don't have time to answer all questions, I'm your point of contact. Go ahead and feel free to send all additional queries my way. I do have my cell phone on me, so please either give us a call or send us an email. Email is preferred, so we do have it in written form. But we will receive your email, your queries, and we'll answer them accordingly. I also invite you to stay in tune and continue to monitor our social media pages, so our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, restating that, please keep all questions within the scope of today's engagement, and any follow-on questions, please address them to me. I'm going to keep a timer on just to make sure that we stay on track. I will annotate when we have time for one more question, so that's going to be with NBC, right? So after your 5th question, I'll just, hey, we got time for one more, and then go ahead and ask your last question, and then we'll kick it from there. Okay, so today we're just going to be hearing from the general. So he prefers to go by Dan Conley. So that's D-A-N, middle name B, Bravo, Conley. So that's C-O-N-L-E-Y. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so please stand by, and then we should be seeing the CG shortly. Thank you. Do I have any questions?
No, sir.
No? Awesome. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please stand by.
Can you all hear me? Yes, is that good? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Dan Conley, Commanding General of Marine Corps Installations West and Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. At about 9 o'clock this morning, a suspected aerial drone was spotted in the vicinity of the Duluth housing area here aboard base. After it crashed, we suspect that it caused the explosion, igniting vegetation in the area. Out of precaution, individuals, families, civilians were evacuated from the Duluth housing area and the Child Development Center, and we evacuated them to the Page Fieldhouse. The fire is nearly extinguished, and we are in mop-up stage at this time. There was no damage to the housing area, but the Child Development Center did sustain some minor damage. There are no fatalities. 2 firefighters have been treated for minor injuries, and that is the extent right now of what we're looking at. Camp Pendleton is currently under FPCON Delta, which means increased security requirements at main gates. Parents are allowed to pick up children from Camp Pendleton schools, as well as the hospital is open for normal working hours. Our number one priority during this time and all times is to ensure the safety of all personnel above Camp Pendleton. Marines, sailors, their families, our civilians, and anyone transiting the base. The cause of today's incident is under investigation. We'll prosecute any and all that are responsible for this act. Please continue to monitor Camp Pendleton Twitter, Facebook, and social media platforms. Subject to any of your questions, that's all I have this afternoon.
So we're here. Good afternoon, sir. Frank Gore with Fox News. So how exactly did something like this happen?
We suspect that a drone entered the airspace above Camp Pendleton and it crashed in the field. That crash ignited the fire that started this afternoon, or this morning rather.
Okay. All right, sir. And for me, just one more question, sir. What exactly was the cause of the actual explosion?
We don't know. We suspect it's the drone. Our fire teams will investigate to determine the exact cause and the extent of the damage.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's all I have today.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon.
Stephen Beard, CNN. What is Camp Pendleton? Why is Camp Pendleton at Force Protection Delta?
We increased the force protection readiness level at all of our gates to ensure that the folks here aboard the base are as safe as possible. We do that randomly, and we do that after specific events such as this. But again, our primary concern is the safety of everybody that's aboard the base, so that's the reason for the increase to FPCON Delta.
Thanks, sir. I have one more question. What is being done with the evacuees?
The evacuees right now are at the Page Field House. We're offering them food, shelter, water, and some other amenities. As quickly as we can, we will return them to their homes.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Bailey Boggs. I'm with NBC News, and my question is, what is being done to ensure safety to all base personnel?
FPCON Delta is the first thing that we do, but we have the patrols that go around and the usual force protection, law enforcement agencies that we have here to make sure everyone is as safe as possible.
We have time for one more question, please.
Just one more, sir. Any indication that this was terrorist?
Right now, we're still investigating. We have teams out looking at the site. We will work with law enforcement agencies aboard the base, as well as state, federal, and local agencies to determine whether or not this was any sort of terrorist act. Thank you.
Trump's recent policies with us being pulled out of Syria, do you think that this attack was done in response to that?
I think we're talking about something that's beyond what Camp Pendleton does. My concern right now is for the safety of everybody here aboard Camp Pendleton, so I can't really talk to how this may or may not be linked to any other issues. What else?
Sir, I'm hearing reports of similar attacks over in Barstow. What can you tell us about that?
I have a report that there was an incident at Barstow, but I don't know the specifics of it, so I don't want to lead anybody to a conclusion that these things may be linked. I would say right now that we'll continue to look at it as part of the MCI-West region. I will get updated briefs on that, and as soon as I know, we will put that information out.
Sir, there were individuals I heard were arrested. Do we know do they have a religious affiliation or anything else? Do anything about those folks?
So our law enforcement agencies working aboard the base have detained individuals, and they are questioning them now. I think it would be premature to get into that until we can investigate more fully.
So how, with how restricted access is to the base, how is it exactly that a drone is able to enter a restricted airspace such as y'all's and just end up crashing without y'all even knowing about it until it happens?
All right. So drones are proliferating. Commercial drones are available to hobbyists and people throughout the world. So we take the measures that we can, but the bottom line is that it got into our airspace and it crashed onto the base. We will look at what those measures we take to defend against drones. We will look at those measures that we use as part of all of our force protection. But I can only tell you right now that it did land on board the base, and we believe it's what caused the fire. We're investigating more fully. What else?
You can ask, how did these individuals get a hold of these explosives?
We don't know that there are explosives. We suspect that it's the drone that crashed that caused a fire that started, or the vegetation fire. I don't know that there were explosives aboard the UAV or the drone. Our investigators, as they look into it, will find that out. And as part of that investigation, if there were any on board, they will trace it to the source.
Sir, was there any indicators on the drone that it may be from a foreign military, say like a Russian drone?
At this point, I don't know. All I know is that we have a drone and they're working to recover it from the fire, and our investigators will take a look at what its source is, whether it's commercial or other.
Sir, what's the, for the fire, sir, tracking that there was 2 firefighters that were injured. What's their current condition?
The latest report that I got was smoke inhalation or related to the fire. It was non-life threatening. They're being treated locally. As we get updates, we'll pass those.
Sir, is Camp Pendleton taking any measures to ensure the security of the surrounding community?
Camp Pendleton works. We always work in cooperative agreements with our local communities. We will continue to do that regardless of what is going on aboard the base.
Sir, do you have anything you would like to express to local communities just to ensure that they're at ease and they're not panicked right now?
Thank you. So, as I've said, we've taken FORCE-CON Delta measures to increase the security of the base here. We will continue to work with the local community. Our number one concern is for the safety of the Marines, the sailors, the families, the civilians, and anybody that transits through Camp Pendleton. We will continue to work with our surrounding community to make sure that where we can, we assist in their security as well.
Is there going to be stricter air control, so going forward this doesn't happen again, or what's the plan for?
Yeah, thank you. We will continue to look at all the security measures that we take, both on the ground and in the air. As those develop, we will let you know. Sir.
Reverend Sir, could there possibly be any kind of chemical attack or nerve agent attached to the drone? And if so, does Camp Pendleton have something to combat that if that was the case?
Right now, what we do suspect is that a drone crashed. Whether it is capable of carrying anything, I think that's a little bit beyond what I can tell you right now. I don't know. We're still investigating what the type of drone was. I'd have to refer to somebody that knows a lot about drones to tell you whether you could weaponize it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, is this an act of war by a foreign military?
As I said, what I suspect is we have a drone. I don't know where it originated and I don't know who was driving it. As we get into the investigation and more details become available, we'll provide those. No more stump the chump questions. Y'all want to get in on this?
No, sir.
Okay.
Same for the view.
Excellent.
I got a question,
Sir.
sir. Do you think this has anything to do with the ongoing one-map deployment overseas?
I don't know. Again, I think that's a little bit outside the scope of this. My job here is to make sure that the base, the people that live and work here are as secure as possible. What someone's motivations may be, I can't speak to that.
Another question, sir. We've also heard that there's possible cyber attacks on military installations out here. Do you think those things have anything to do with each other?
I think we always have to be vigilant when it comes to cyber. As part of our FP-CON Delta procedures, we include cyber hygiene, if you will, to make sure that the base is as well defended as it can be, so that we can continue to communicate on all the networks that we have. What else? Okay. Well, thank you very much.